I sued a car dealership and I won. In this video, I will be talking about that journey, the process, the back end, and I am so excited to share it with you. So if you have had a bad experience with a company, it doesn't even have to be a car dealership, and you're looking to sue in the state of Georgia, look, that's where I sued at, so I don't know about any other state laws. Watch this video because I guarantee you'll learn some valuable insights on how you can get justice. It'll be worth it. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Go and Grow. I am Dr. Miracle Jackson, and today we're going to be talking about how to sue a car dealership. There's always this big stigma around women getting taken advantage of at the car dealership. And unfortunately, I fell within that stereotype. But let me tell you how I broke that thing and made the dealership regret trying to win one over on me. Should have been a lawyer. All right, let's jump into the episode. Have you ever went to a car dealership, felt like they just really screwed you over and that you had no control over being able to do anything about it? Well, me too. And today, I'm gonna tell you what I did about it. So it all began during my birthday last year. It was a tough birthday for me. I had just finished losing my godmom. I was going through a lot of different changes in life. And on top of that, the wheels fell off of my car. And I told myself I was gonna ride that car till the wheels fell off, and the wheel literally fell off of the car. So, of course, I did an insurance claim on it. I realized that I was paying all that insurance for what? Anyways, I ended up getting screwed over, and so I ended up having to get an entire new car. So I went to the car dealership. Mind you, I have never been one to have a car note. I have always owned my vehicles outright. When I got my first car, that car lasted me for 7 years until it just broke down. And it happened to break down around the time where I felt like other areas in my life were breaking down. But that's beside the point. The point is that I had to do something about it. So I went to the car dealership and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get me a car that will not have any issues with it. Because my last car was an 03 Honda Accord. Come on, that thing was like 20 years old. It made it to 21. I guess the car drunk too much. But that was a good joke. All right, back on topic. My old original car ended up breaking down. I had to get a new one. And I just really wanted to feel better in life. I just finished losing my godmom, then I lost my car, and then there were just so many different changes going on. And so I was like, you know what? I just finished improving my credit. I'm gonna go to the car dealership, get a great rate, and just all these great things that they lied to you about. So I ended up communicating back and forth through email only because I wanted everything to be documented. I always heard all these horror stories about going to the car dealership and then getting screwed over. And so I was like, okay, I don't want to be one of those people. So before I even went to the dealership, all the communication was via email, negotiating with the price, what comes with the vehicle, what doesn't have to come with the vehicle, different add-ons that they would try and add in during the financing process. Every single thing, I wanted it documented. So I ended up going to the dealership. I ended up liking the price. They gave me a nice little price that aligned with the KBB value. KBB is Kelley Blue Book, which is, y'all know what Kelley Blue Book is. If you don't, go look it up. So I'm just kidding, I'll just tell you. Kelley Blue Book is an online resource that a lot of people use to be able to get the market value of a car. You know, the value looks good, went, saw the vehicle in person. But when I first got to the dealership, they were like, oh yeah, the vehicle's not here. Mind you, I had an appointment scheduled. Everything was all set up. So this was the first red flag. I honestly should have just left the dealership after this. But by this point, I had actually wanted the car. It was a nice car. It was, you know, better than what I had. And I felt like I was getting a good price on it. So they ended up going, finding out that the car was not actually auctioned. They took it off of there, ended up letting me do a little test drive on it. It didn't really take much to convince me because I already had my mind made up when I went to the dealership. I just wanted to make sure that everything lined up with the pictures and videos. And salesperson is like, yeah, we can be able to do the financing, different things like that. So they run my credit and I ended up getting a bunch of alerts on my credit after leaving the dealership. And it was like 10 plus dings of hard inquiries. And I was like, what the? Y'all told me it was gonna be a max of three lenders looking into my credit. What is going on with this? So that was my first being a bit frustrated with my experience. But I was like, I got the car, I got a good price, whatever. The credit will fix itself, whatever. During the financing process, they had added on like a few extra things that it was optional, but the way that they positioned it, you can always count on the salespeople and even those in the finance department to add on their little commission things. So, you know, I end up like looking over the contract and I'm like, you can take off all the optional things. And then they end up pitching the value, all this other different sales process. Mind you, like I'm in sales, so I know what that process looks like. So I called myself, you know, just trying to sow some good seeds back into my sales career, you know? And so I end up, you know, agreeing to some of the add-ons because, you know, it worked out for me. It wasn't like it was an inconvenience until it was. So I ended up contacting a lot of the third-party companies. I think it was like a week or two down the line. And I just wanted to cancel it because I wasn't seeing the value in the add-ons. And on top of that, my monthly bill was $700 something. And I was like, who is about to be paying $700 something on a car? Not me. At this point, I'm stuck in a contract and I'm trying to cancel different things, but the third-party companies didn't have any record of the add-ons. And so I'm like, hold on, y'all adding on stuff, you putting it on this contract, but these companies don't know that, like these companies never received the contract. I was like, oh, you know what that sounds like? It sounds like working in bad faith. You know what that sounds like? It sounds like a lawsuit. Ring, 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 ring. I call a lawyer and I'm explaining the situation and end up, you know, just chopping some up to the lawyer to, you know, just kind of figure out everything and yada, yada, yada. So the lawyer ends up giving me like an extremely discounted price because it just was, God just gave me some favor like that. I don't really know how to explain that piece. After the first lawyer, I ended up signing up like a little law firm, like the people that actually do the work, because I originally got like a consultation for really cheap, but then I needed to, of course, have the lawyer deal with the legalities of it by sending different letters and things like that. So I ended up using Legal Shield. What I'll say about this, don't use Legal Shield unless if you really just need it. It's really cheap, but you literally get what you pay for. So I'm gonna just say that. But you can cancel anytime. I'm not gonna promote Legal Shield, but I use that company in the process to be able to write all of the demand letter. So originally, you know, just try and figure it out first, you know, see if they cough up the bucks without having to go to court. And they didn't. And instead they tried to gaslight me and made it seem like they actually put everything on the contract. Mind you, at this point, everything's on a recorded line. I have the recordings also on my phone, and I had the email records of proof that they did not send the contracts to the third-party companies in order for me to be able to cancel it. So now at this point, I'm feeling tried. I'm like, okay, y'all don't think I'm willing to take you to court? Watch. So the lawyer sends, you know, a few letters. Dealership's not willing to respond. I reach out via email, escalating everything, and the owner of the dealership is essentially like, mind you, this is like a corporate dealership, you know, ends up pretty much gaslighting me, and then went on to keep on calling me Miss Jackson. Now, I'm one of those people where it doesn't really bother me when you call me Miss Jackson, but if I've already told you my correct title of Dr. Jackson and that it's not just a title I'm just throwing in there, I earned that. So call me by that, because what if I was looking different, right? If I look like a typical whatever a doctor is supposed to look like, you'd be calling me doctor, you know? So it was just little microaggressions like that. But, you know, I just brushed them off. Just corrected the guy via email. And then he went out his way to still, you know, just try and belittle me in a way. And so I was like, okay. Okay, y'all trying it? Y'all really want to try it with me? You don't know. I will write up to let you know how you disrupted my stability in my life. Talk about financially, emotionally, like I can really, what? So they wanted to act like they ain't do nothing wrong and that it was just me having buyer's remorse. So I leave like a little Google review. I leave a whole essay. I don't care. I can write for days. So what? So I leave detailed overview and then I send some pictures as proof of receipts because they be quick to be like, oh, you didn't purchase a vehicle from here. This screenshot right here says that, are you the dealership? So they keep on trying to get me to come into the dealership in person. Mind you, never do that. If the dealership is trying to consult in person, they are trying to take advantage of not only your time, but also trying to challenge your intelligence. I was like, no, everything could just be documented. Like, let's continue to talk back and forth via email. There's no point of a phone call unless if it's going to be recorded, and there's no point of coming in person because that's a waste of my time, and time is my most valuable asset. At this point, it's a stalemate. The dealership is not willing to make things right. And I was like, dang, y'all really gonna make this? You really gonna make me work for this? And so I was like, okay, you know what? Now I gotta prove a point. Now I gotta let y'all know that you tried the wrong one. So end up firing the other lawyers through like Legal Shield. Their letter really didn't do much. They weren't really taking the initiative to contact the dealership and try and just handle everything that I was paying them to handle. So I was like, you know what, I'll just do it myself. So in the state of Georgia, there are a variety of consumer protection laws. Mind you, at this point, I had already reported the business to the BBB, reported them on Google, Yelp, CFPB. At this point, I was like, I gotta take y'all to court. So the dealership, I'm gonna tell y'all the name of the dealership at the end so that way you never shop there, but let me build it up. So, so the dealership pulled a fast one. And let me tell you how they pulled a fast one. So when I was trying to file the lawsuit, you have to file it with the dealership's registered agent. Okay, and we'll go through like a little screen recording of like the process of going online in Georgia, the different websites to use, and the whole process on the back end. But let me just finish explaining the entire thing, and then we'll dive into that for people who are really seeking how to sue a dealership for wrongdoing. So the dealership is non-existent by the name that they're going by. And so then I had to find, okay, their actual name that they're doing business as, like the original name of the dealership. Mind you, because of all the credit inquiries that I had on my profile, I was disputing all of those with the CFPB, so I was already in the process of working those out. And there was only one company that told me the name of the actual business of the dealership, because they were not doing business in their registered name according to the state. They were doing business under like a DBA, doing business as. Opened the letter from the lender company that I was disputing it with, and I see a different name. And I'm like, hold on, who's this? I didn't do no business with this company. This company was not authorized to do anything. So, you know, I'm looking through and I end up searching the name under the state because I'm like, what is this business? And then I found the actual name of the business that's registered with the state and their registered agent. Now at this point, all fire could be let loose because now I knew the registered name of the business, their registered agent, the correct address that's lined up with the state to serve them. And on top of that, I did my research with the magistrate court and what that process would look like doing a lawsuit. So after all of this, mind you, this is like months and months of work, but I wasn't willing to let it go. Like at first I was just gonna let it go, but after they tried to gaslight me and made it seem like they did their due diligence and their responsibilities within the contract and did not do any wrongdoing or acts of bad faith, that's when I was like, okay, no, like now I need to remind you on why I'm a doctor. Let me educate you on the laws, consumer protection laws, and on top of that, how you violated that. So I ended up going through the process, going on e-file, like Tyler, Georgia Tech. I got to find the exact URL, but essentially where you go to document a statement of claim. You need to do a statement of claim in order for the court to intervene and schedule a court date. I'm collecting all of the evidence, and at this point I already had the evidence. It was just a matter of sending it in. I attached that with my statement of claim and served the dealership. But I didn't serve the dealership. I served their registered agent. And the registered agent is a company that a dealership or corporation or organization uses to handle their legal battles and keeping them registered with the state. So at this point, it's just a wait game. I hear back, and the dealership had a chance, you know, within 45 days to file a response to my claim. And of course, the dealership did not expect me to serve their registered agent. And so the registered agent never responded. And so now at this point, it's past 45 days. You know, I call up the magistrate court. I'm like, you know, hey, haven't heard back about this case. You know, what's the update? They're like, yeah, you know, we haven't heard back. So I was like, okay, can we do a default judgment? Can I do an affidavit for a default judgment? Since the dealership is yet again being unresponsive, like why are they even in business? They end up filing the default judgment. In order to have a default judgment, you got to show up in court. So they end up processing, scheduling the court date, serve the dealership again, letting them know you need to show up in court or there's going to be a default judgment. And default judgment just means that it's going to automatically fall within the favor of the plaintiff, me, the one that served the lawsuit, if they didn't show up. So then I get a little letter in the mail from the court that was essentially saying that the dealership was trying to file a motion to dismiss late. And so the court, of course, denied it. It was like, you did not file within the 45-day period, which includes a grace period, because it's really like 30 days, but they include like a little 15-day grace period. You didn't respond within that time frame. Now it's up to the judge in court. So I didn't expect the dealership to show up because honestly, it was just like, you guys are lame anyway. But to my surprise, they did. So the same guy that I was emailing back and forth with, the owner of the dealership or the manager or whatever, we're in court. It finally becomes our time to go up. We're before the judge and I plead my case. The dealership representative pleads theirs, and overall it ends up falling in my favor and I won the lawsuit. But I won because I had the evidence. I made a strong case and my claim was very detailed as to why I should win the lawsuit. And it's so crazy because I was so nervous. It's like court, you know, you're presenting in front of a judge. And let me tell you about how the microaggression circled back. So the dealership owner was essentially trying to be a little aggressive with me in court. The judge peeped it, but you know, the judge just kind of let it play out. And so I chose to speak up for myself because the dealership owner kept on saying, yeah, Miss Jackson this and Miss Jackson that. And I said, excuse me, Mr. Doe. You know, I won't include the actual name. Excuse, you know, Mr. John Doe. Excuse me, Mr. Doe. I have already told you multiple times and at the beginning of this court case, along with the email records of my correct title. So I would appreciate it when you're addressing me, that you address me correctly. And the judge, you know, kind of intervened and was just like, that is, the plaintiff did acknowledge that she's a doctor of education, the correct title to call her. And it's as simple as that. And so, you know, he just goes out of his way. He just doesn't want to call me anything at that point. He just starts going like she, her, the plaintiff, anything to avoid giving me the recognition. And this is what I gotta say about white dudes sometimes is, it's like, don't be mad. Don't be mad. Where's my dissertation at? Hold on. I just gotta do a little demonstration real quick. I didn't write this for nothing. And see, the more that I go through life, the more experiences that I begin to go through, I'm reminded as to why I wrote this dissertation and why I wrote on this topic to begin with. Because oftentimes people will try and be funny against Black women and attack them in ways that are not always so in your face, but very much more subtle. And it's as simple as, okay, it bothers you so much that I'm a real doctor that you don't want to call me it, but I bet you if I look different, I bet you if I was older, I bet all these different things that I can bet that he would have done the correct thing. But in reality, he was mad about the lawsuit, mad about me, a young Black woman, having the audacity to take them to court and get justice for the wrongdoing that they expected me to just let roll off my back. All that to say is I won the lawsuit and I felt like I won another battle. And that was the battle of representation. The battle of women, a young Black woman standing up for herself in court among so many different people, looking to see how the little verbal battle is going to go with the back and forth, pleading different cases in hopes to win, and the judge ultimately ruling in my favor. What I love about this story is that don't just take it. Like if somebody does you wrong, if an organization does you wrong, if a company does you wrong, and you have evidence to support that, and you have the energy to be able to put into it, because it does take some energy. But at that point, I was trying to prove a point. It really wasn't even about collecting a check from the dealership for the wrongdoing. At that point, it was about just proving a point. Like, one, why'd you try me to begin with? Why'd you think that you would get away with it? And why are you still trying me in the courtroom? What? So yeah, it was a very motivational kind of experience because it reminded me on why I always stand 10 toes down. What? They thought they were gonna win and they didn't. I won. I got justice. And I thank God for God's favor in that entire process. Honestly, I just wanted to share that story because somebody might be going through something. It doesn't even have to be suing a car dealership. It could be suing anybody, anything, any company. But the whole point is that that's why documentation is key. If it ain't documented, it's a matter of he say, she say. And that is the worst case to be in, unless if you got a recording. Because in the state of Georgia, it is legal to record as long as one party consents. So if I'm that party, I consent to recording now to protect myself for instances like what I had to go through. And yes, I did record the dealership during the in-person interaction, just in case they tried something. And look how that evidence suited me in that courtroom. So this is Go and Grow. Sometimes you have to stand up for yourself to protect your health and protect your wealth. In this video, I talked about how I did both of those things by suing a car dealership. All right, y'all, that is a wrap. And the name of the car dealership, because I know you want to know, like, make sure I don't go there. Do not go to Gwinnett Place Nissan. Do not shop at Gwinnett Place Nissan. They are not good business. I have evidence to support it. And on top of that, I won a lawsuit against them. Yep. I won an entire lawsuit against that company for being deceitful and Judges don't like that. They don't like deceit now. Against consumers, when there are consumer protection laws in place. Yeah, so don't shop there. And their actual registered agent is CT Corporation off of Lawrenceville Highway. So there goes that. And their original name is GanVT Motors. Trying to do business as Gwinnett Place Nissan. Do business as an honest dealership. But yeah, y'all, that's the review. That is my experience with getting justice in the state of Georgia at the magistrate court in Gwinnett County. All right, y'all, this is Go and Grow. Please make sure that you take care of yourself. Doctor's orders.